Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Today, I'm going to talk about a very special topic for me. I guess everybody that knows me personally knows that I'm a big hugger. I love giving warm, loving hugs from all my heart. And as a matter of fact, I'm wearing now a sweater. It's called Huggable. I had it since my children were little. So they knew that every time when they would come from school and I would wear the Huggable, it's hugging time. So there were free hugs, giving and receiving free hugs. And those were precious times filled with joy. So today I'm going to talk about the healing power of hugs and what actually prompted me to approach this subject right now was a recent situation that I was part of it, one of those gift encounters. Recently, I went swimming for my lunch break, and it was a very busy, crowded day at the pool, heavy traffic, and everybody was trying to find their ways and respect at the same time everybody's space. But there was this young, beautiful lady that she seemed to be very rushed, and she would come and just pass by and go straight in front of me. And in her rush, she would hit me with her legs. She would splash the water. So the first time I didn't really pay attention to it. It was crowded anyway, but then it happened again and again and again. And finally I stopped and I said, what's happening here? I understand it's busy, but you can at least ask for permission, to just go straight in front, passing by, and make sure that you're not hurting anybody. So my comment wasn't received very well. She had a very strong reaction. She started yelling and asking me to go to hell. So she kept repeating, swearing, repeating this. And I was very shocked by this reaction. I didn't know how to react myself, and I said, "Look, this is not all right. So I'm not engaging with this." I left and I went to the swimming guard, and I told him, "Look, there is a situation here. This young lady, she seems to be doing this, and it needs to be a safe space for everyone to be able to swim. It's a community pool, ultimately." So he acknowledged, but he didn't do anything. He didn't get out of his chair. So then I kept swimming, and once again she comes, she passes me by abruptly. Imagine being in traffic and the car comes behind you and then goes straight in front of you, and hitting in the encounter. Then I stopped again. I looked at the swimming guard, and he saw the situation. I told him, "Look, this is what I'm talking about." She kept swimming, but then when I reached the end of the row, where the starting of the lane was, she was there, and she kept exploding at me. She kept swearing again, "Go to hell." And she was very agitated, increasingly agitated. And I said, "Look, this is not all right. It's a community pool. I know it's crowded, but we should all find the respectful way to make sure that there is room for everyone." But she wouldn't stop. So the swimming guard came, and he started talking to her. I left the situation. I didn't want to engage with this. She kept talking. She was so agitated. She was so angry and upset with the whole situation. So I could feel, like, while I was swimming, I could feel the water, feel the tension. It was like clean water before, and suddenly a bottle of ink seemed to be spilled into the whole water, and all of that tension and negativity. She kept talking to the swimming guard. So I could feel that tension, and it felt like violence. It felt that I could feel that it, just like the water was touching me, that was touching me, and I knew that I'm easily contaminated by all of this tension and aggression. So at the same time, I didn't know how to stay immune to this. It almost felt like I was trying to stay dry, being in the water. So, but I needed to stay in a really good space inside, because after my break, I was supposed to have an interview for a video on the power of stories. So I needed to be in the right state for that video, because otherwise, imagine talking about stories, telling stories, and yelling at the same time. Let's say so. When we are not in the right state, the content of what we are saying or doing, it's going to be contaminated. It's like empty words. So I really needed to stay in the right state for that interview. And I didn't know what to do, because again, it felt like I was trying to stay dry, being in the water, being in that space of very strong, aggressive tension, negative tension. So I paused, and I asked the universe, I asked, what do I do now? And I really wanted an answer. I really wanted to know what can I do at that moment not to be contaminated by this. So the answer came right away, actually. As they say, ask and you will be answered, you will be given. The answer came and was very informative, very procedural. The first thing that of the first part of the answer was, you have to remain in your function. You have to remain in love. So stay in love, don't leave this place, and surround yourself with love, like a shield of love. Surround yourself like a shield, protective shield of love. And then the third part of the answer was, and give her love, send her love, keep sending her love. So I was very grateful that actually I got the answer, because I really needed to be able to remain in the state that I was. So I stayed in love. I surrounded myself with a protective shield of love, and I kept sending her love and sending. So I kept swimming again, another lane and another lane, sending her love and staying in love. And there was this, I think I did 3 or 4 more lanes swimming, and then she was right at the beginning. She couldn't swim in anymore. Every time I would pass by, she would talk to this gentleman, and she would be more and more aggravated and upset. And obviously, she was talking about me. She was very upset with me every time I would pass by in front of her. She would look at me, and her face, her eyes were very upset. So I did 3 or 4 more lanes. I kept sending her love, and then suddenly I stopped in front of her, and I said, "Look, I'm really sorry if I caused you any upset. I truly didn't mean to. And this situation, it's really not worth it. It's not worth to be upset about. I'm sure you have bigger problems, bigger concerns to be upset about if you want to be upset, but this shouldn't be one of them. So I'm sorry. I don't want this to be between us. So at that moment, a miracle happened. To me, it was a big miracle. Her face all of a sudden just shifted 100 degrees, lightened up, and the big smile on her face, on her eyes, was coming up just like a beautiful shiny sun in the spring. And she handed her hand over towards me, like when we're little kids, and there is the sign of peace, handing your hand over to shake to in peace. So I took her hand, and then without thinking, I just had this impulse, and I was holding her hand, and then I hugged her. I held her. And then I let go of her. And the next miracle happened. Again, her face, and she started laughing, and suddenly this joy in her, and it felt so explosive. It was just the opposite of her previous anger. This time, all of this burst of joy and happiness was all over her. So it was very clear that we were good, that we were in peace with one another. I thanked her, and then I left and I continued swimming. And I could see her this time. She kept talking to that gentleman, but this time she seems like a little girl, in a spring field with flowers, and so excited and so happy and so joyful. Like there was such a contrast between a few minutes ago and the person that was there now, that I just couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe that it's possible. And for me, on the other hand, I kept swimming, but there was um, this space inside of me, this tremendous power inside of me. So then the words of the power of love, the song Power of Love came, and I realized, like, wow, this is what it feels like. This is what is the power of love, the true power of love. So I felt it in me. I felt it, that in that space I was invincible. Nothing could touch me. I was completely immune to anything, no matter the ink in the water, no matter the color of the water. I was absolutely all right. It couldn't touch me. I was able to be actually dry, being being in the water, drying in my inside. And at the same time, this power, this tremendous power, it felt that this time it was just expanding. It was spreading. Was spreading in the whole pool, in everywhere around me. So I was amazed. It's like, whoa, wow, this is what the power of love feels like. And then I kept swimming, and I saw her. She kept talking to that gentleman, but again, this time she was so happy, so expansive, so joyful. And I kept enjoying this space that felt really miraculous to me. It felt really powerful because I didn't make it happen. Uh, I felt that I was part of it, but it wasn't my doing. It wasn't my making. It was most like grace, like when it touches you. So I kept swimming and being in this space myself, watching her. And then I finished my swimming. I had to leave. I went to take a shower. And then when I was getting dressed, she comes in the change room, and she was this time also a bit agitated, but in a positive way. She was like, I was looking everywhere for you. I remember the color of your bathing suit. So here I found you, and I'm happy that I found you. I had to find you because I had to tell you that I really don't understand what happened. Nobody ever hugged me this way, not even my mom, she said. So she said, before this happened, I have anxiety, and everything inside of me was shaking. My heart was pounding so hard, and my body and my hands. And she said, when I'm very anxious, my leg goes numb. So I was extremely anxious. And one of my coping ways with anxiety is to swear, actually, because when I swear, people back off and they leave me alone. So it's one of my ways. So I know I swear at you, and I'm sorry about that, but I was filled with anxiety. And what happened when we came, and I don't understand why you hug me, because here in Canada people don't hug. It's so unusual. So when you hug me, and you hug me in a way that really nobody in my life hugged me like this, but you held me tight, and it felt that you held me long. But when you let go of me, everything, everything was shifted in me. Everything was so calm. My heart was so calm and happy and relaxed, and my whole body. And I suddenly felt like a completely different person, and I couldn't believe it myself. I couldn't understand myself what was happening. And I kept telling my friend that I don't understand. I don't understand how what's happening to me. How can I be so well all of a sudden, and so calm and happy? So I had to come and tell you about this, because I don't get it. You should get paid to give hugs. She said, I don't understand what happened. Like, how do you do this? Do you hug everyone like this? What's happening? She seemed to be so perplexed by this, and I thanked her. I think I said, wow, wow. I was this time I was very puzzled myself, and I said, first of all, thank you for accepting my hug, because I know, especially in this state, it's the last thing that you want from the person that you dislike so much at that time is to be hugged. So thank you for accepting that. It was an impulse, and I'm so happy that you accepted it. And thank you for coming to tell me this. Wow, I'm very surprised myself. And she kept talking to me, and she was also so activated, but in a positive way this time. And she kept sharing about herself, and this was the third miracle for me that day. And I remember that morning, during my morning prayer meditation, I asked to live this day, to experience this as if heaven is on earth, to have the experience of this day as heaven on earth. So then it hit me. It's like, whoa, this is what it feels like. This is what it means to live like heaven on earth, where it doesn't have to be, the weather is the way it is, and what's happening, it's happening. It doesn't have to be all petal of roses, but whatever it's happening, the way I experienced the situation um, was really out of this world, was so powerful. It was such an unbelievable gift that I couldn't possibly imagine. I couldn't possibly imagine this outcome in the first part of this situation, when I felt like a bottle of dark ink was spilled into the water, and suddenly this turnout. I had no idea that it was possible. So here I am after these very powerful experiences, and I have to admit that I didn't know if I should share it because it feels very intimate, it feels very personal. But then a friend of mine told me, you should share it because the power that it had, and it still has, like even when I'm talking about this, I feel that I'm back in this situation, and filled with that peace and love, and the strength, the tremendous strength, the immunity that comes from it. And the gift that came about the hugs, again, I'm a big hugger. I give hugs to whoever wants to receive it. As a matter of fact, I had this thought after we went caroling for Christmas. We went caroling with our group of our church group. We went caroling to St. John's Mission, and it was a beautiful experience. And after I left that place, I was so touched by the people there on both hands, people receiving and people giving. And I was talking to my husband, and I said, I feel like, of course, we give food and we give clothes, and we help, like cooking, or in whatever ways we can help in those situations. But I said to my husband, I truly don't know what I could give to these people that has a real power, real meaning. And then the next thought was, you know what? I want to go on a Saturday morning there once a month and just give hugs to those people. They have food. They're so welcome there. There are so many people there that whether through donations or services, they give so much love in that service and helping everybody. Everybody's welcome there. So I said everybody could, but I felt like going there. So I think I'm going to talk to Father and ask if it's possible to go and give hugs just from the heart, just the way I experienced this hug with this young lady, beautiful young lady that I found out actually that she's 43 years old. So she's very beautiful and she looks very young, but she's still young. I mean, at 43, you're still young, but I thought she was 23. So that's why I want to talk about the power of hugs, the healing power of hugs. And as a therapist, with my whole background in psychology and psychotherapy, not only personally, but also professionally, I know the healing power of hugs and of touch. There are lots of studies done on that, and very interesting research actually. Early on, the first one to do a research, actually, an experiment. It was a very sad experiment actually, but it was King Frederick II of Germany in the 13th century, in the year of 1212, I believe. And he did this experiment with babies. He wanted to know if babies, what language they would learn naturally if nobody's speaking to them. So that he wanted to know if they will speak the mother language or the surrounding, the social environment language. So what he did was very cruel, actually. He took babies from their moms and he put them in the care of the nurses in a hospital, in an institution. But the nurses were very, very clearly instructed of two things. One was not to speak to the babies, so no sounds could be made in the presence of the babies. And the second instruction was not to touch the babies whatsoever. So he wanted to see if by not speaking to the babies, they would speak their mother language. The experiment failed failed critically because no results were found out regarding the language because all babies died because of the lack of touch, of physical touch, and the spoken language. There is also this experiment with the flat face. If you look at the child, a baby, and you make no expression, you have this flat affect, as they call it, just straight and no smile, no facial expression, the baby is going to be very, very distressed, and it's going to cry, and it's going to be very hard to console because of this. So the facial expression, we were talking earlier about smiling and laughing and speaking with our eyes, but also the touch deprivation. There is in psychology, there is a condition called sensory deprivation or touch starvation. So when a person is deprived of physical touch for a while, and this was especially noticed with children from orphanages or with the elderly people in hospitals. So touch deprivation leads to a very, very severe condition. So the symptoms of these conditions are a high level of distress and anxiety and depression and fatigue, exhaustion, and the immune system is lowering, and we are more prone to infections. There is a high risk for asthma, for heart problems, for diabetes. Again, we get infections more easily. There is this sense of deep loneliness and emptiness. So again, researchers, scientists paid attention to this, and they did lots of studies on this touch starvation, as it is called, and it's connected to very severe conditions in the long run. As a matter of fact, in the 19th centuries, again, other researchers, they noticed in orphanages, babies that in the first year of life, half of the babies were dying in these orphanages. And they couldn't really figure it out why they were dying. And also the other children, not only they were dying, but they wouldn't grow. They have this condition of I think it was called masmara, from Greek word. So it was child weakness, atrophy. They would stop growing physically. And then around 1920s, they also noticed that in orphanages, they did some studies in the United States. So there were 15 different cities with these institutions, these orphanages. And they noticed that in 14 out of these 15 institutions, children below, up to the year, by the end of the first year, they would die. All of them, they would die 100%, except for this one institution where only 90% of the infants were dying, and 10% they didn't die. So they wondered, like, what is it with this 10% of comparing to the other 90% that of the infants that kept dying, the babies. And what they noticed is that these 10% of babies, they were periodically taken from the orphanage under the care of some foster parents or relatives. So because during those times they were more touched and taken and caressed and hugged, then they would have a better rate of survival. So then there was this doctor that around the same time, there was this pediatrician that there are different fashions in childcare and in everything, actually, in health. And we have to be very careful of different fashions and the information that we receive. But around that time, around 1920, before the war, parents were instructed to, if you want to be a good parent, the way you're supposed to raise your babies was to give them um, that saying of touching them or kissing them only during their sleep, or telling them that you love them only during their sleep. So parents would be encouraged, would be educated not to, like, if the child would cry during the night, let the child cry, don't pick up the child, don't touch them, don't hold them, don't. So this strange instructions from the head pediatrician at that time. And what was found out, interestingly enough, was that children of rich families, educated families that would actually listen to the instruction, read books to the instructions of this head pediatrician, their children would die more often and get sick more often, comparing to poor families who they didn't hear the news, they didn't hear the trends or the instructions, they didn't read them, and they would naturally, love and caress and hold their babies when they're crying, when they're hungry, when they would communicate with their babies in a very affectionate, loving way. So these children, these infants were healthier. They wouldn't get sick as often. And also, there was this a doctor that from Boston, Dr. Okay, I forgot his name, but he went to Germany, the clinic in Germany in Dusseldorf, and he got a tour from the head of that institution. He got a tour of the institution, and it was an orphanage there again. So there were different children, and he saw this chubby lady, and she was holding one baby in one arm and the other one in the other arm, and he was wondering, and she was walking, and like, who is that? And the doctor says, "Oh, that's old Anna. Anna." And everybody knows here that when babies are getting the best medical care, and they are still not doing well, they are not growing, they are not thriving, they keep being sick, they give them to Anna. And no baby fails in Anna's arms. So this woman, Anna, the old Anna, was left in history, actually, because after this experience, the doctor from the pediatrician from Boston came back to the United States, and he tried to change the approach of child raising, and especially the babies in the first years. And there was the approach of touch, of hugging, of holding, of caressing, and tenderly. Baby is supposed to be cared with holding and caressing and singing and caring. Again, the touch was extremely important. Apparently, again, another study shows that children could overcome other sensory deprivation. For example, if they are in darkness, if they have light deprivation or sound deprivation, they can overcome that, but they cannot overcome the touch deprivation. So during the recent COVID times, I remember my neighbor across the street, everybody, there was the quarantine, and we're talking from the distance, and she was very upset because she has several grandchildren, but she said that the youngest one, the 4-year-old, she's so distressed by the situation of not being able to hug, because she can't understand why grandma doesn't hug her anymore. She takes it very personally, and the older ones could understand the situation when explained, but she can't understand why. What is it that grandma doesn't want to hug me anymore? So again, the hug deprivation. Now in our culture, and there are different cultures, and there are cultures where hugging and physical touch is more permissible, comparing to other countries and other cultures. And in more civilized countries nowadays, there seems to be more policies against the physical touch, and they are understandable to where they're coming from. There could be abuses, and definitely touching and hugging without permission, it's not all right. The difference, between making love and rape is the consent, is the permission. So this permission part is essential. So if somebody doesn't want to be touched and has clear boundaries about this, um, we have to respect that. On the other hand, again, sometimes it seems that people who are more guarded and that they're not comfortable with touch, usually they're connected to traumas, previous traumas, and that haven't had the chance to be healed. And again, we have to definitely like never give a hug without making sure, even non-verbally, that the person, like if somebody rejects it, you let go. But at the same time, just like in the situation that I was describing earlier, uh, I was dumbfounded to have this feedback regarding the physical healing power of touch. So again, the studies show this abundantly, and there was this there is this lady, Templin. What's her name? I forgot her name, but I met her personally actually at a presentation a few years ago. She has a very common name, but it skips my mind now. Anyway, she devised this hugging machine in 1965. She's an animal scientist. Oh my goodness, I can't believe it. The name escapes my mind, but I won't try to force it now. Nothing by force. It will come to me. Templin, Okay, I will get back with that. Anyway, so she's been dealing with autism since she was a child, but she was diagnosed much later because during that time, if you're diagnosed with autism, you're supposed to be locked in an institution. So her parents didn't diagnose her early on, but she's been dealing with autism for her whole life, and she uh, created this device called the hugging machine that she did it for herself first in 1965, that would help her to this pressure touch, would help her release the distress. And then she went on. It was working so well for her that she thought of creating this device for others as well. And studies were done regarding the power of this hug machine, and it's working very well with autism, with anxiety, and with ADHD. So you can imagine if a wood hug machine could have this impact, a human touch, a human touch, a hug that is given wholeheartedly. And I might have another presentation about how to give a good healing touch. But again, for now, I wanted to share a little bit, both from research and especially from my personal experience, the tremendous healing power of touch. So what neuroscience shows us now is that when we hug, the brain releases this hormone. It's called the oxytocin, the bonding hormone or the love hormone. And when this hormone is activated in the system, it activates the brain in the state of positivity and happiness. And it drops the levels of cortisol or the stress hormone. So when we hug, both for the giver and the receiver of the hug, it's very beneficial. It's very, as I got the feedback and I saw it with my own eyes for this beautiful lady, almost instantaneously. It calms the whole nervous system down. Actually, researchers showed that the activate is the vagus nerve. The vagus nerve that, again, is related to the calmness, to the relaxation mode of our system, and calms all our, it's connected to all our internal organs, is the nerve that connects the brain with the internal organs. So this magical power of hugs, it's, on one hand, it's common sense. Like, if we go back to common sense, we know the power of hug. We know that when somebody is not in a good state, when things are not going so well, the best thing that somebody could be benefit is, like, it looks like you had this kind of day where you would really benefit from a hug. So for us not to be afraid of giving them, okay, with strangers, it's a different story, but with our loved ones, just to make sure that there is no day without at least a hug. Actually, apparently, researchers showed that we need minimum 4 hugs a day for survival. We need 8 hugs a day for maintenance, for our health benefits, and we need at least 12 hugs a day for thriving, for doing really, really well, both emotionally, mentally, and physically as well. Again, when we are under the influence of oxytocin and hugs and touch, loving touch, we are healthy, we are well, we are positive, and this is what we give forward. So I will stop here for now. Thank you for watching. Thank you for taking the time to be with me. Please remember to subscribe to my channel, to Psychology for Everyday Life, if you find it beneficial. And please share it with everyone else that you feel might benefit from all of this. The purpose of this channel is for me to be able to share, to take the time and share abundantly from my professional, personal experience, everything that I noticed for myself, for the people that I've been working with, and from others, that, and from what I know, that it's working for us to be able to experience life in a better way, in a more enjoyable, pleasant way, with less stresses, less worries, less in a healthier and also more meaningful way. So please subscribe and share this information with others that you feel would benefit them. Thank you again, and until next time.